All right, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to thank our elected officials and members of our executive leadership team for being here for this morning's press conference. We're going to get started with some welcoming words from our Director of the Department of Public Works, Mr. Martin Harris. Martin.
Thank you. Good morning, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us here at DPW for a very exciting day. I want to, in addition, we're going to hear from our wonderful federal delegation, Senators Cardin and Van Hollen, of course, our Delegate Hoyer. But I want to thank our state partners. I see Delegate Davis. I see Delegate Patterson. I also see Senator Ellis here with us. Thank you all for joining us here. I see my buddy from Prince George's as well, Vic Weisberg. So we thank you for joining us here this morning. DPW is very proud to host the event this morning. I also want to thank our County Administrator, Deb Hall, who's here with us this morning. We're very happy to have you here. This is the largest pump station in our system, and hopefully we'll hear a little bit more about that in a little bit, but I want to turn it back over to, I think, Darrell, who's going to take us to the program, and thank you all so much for your support for us. Mr. President, thank you too as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Martin. I would just like to remind everyone, if you haven't done so already, to please silence your cell phones. I'm going to briefly go over the order of speakers for this morning's event. We're going to start with Senator Ben Cardin, that is BenCardin. Then we will have words from Senator Chris Van Hollen, that's ChrisVanHollen. And then we'll hear from Representative Steny Hoyer, Stenyhoyer. And we will wrap it up with comments from Commissioner President Reuben B. Collins II, REUBENB COLLINS II. So without further ado, Senator Cardin.
All right. Thank you very much. We are gathered here today to wish Senator Ellis a happy birthday. It's always good to be here with all of our partners, to Delegate Patterson, Delegate Davis. I always remember Edith on the council where she started, and to Reuben Collins, congratulations on your incredible leadership at the local level. It's by far the hardest level of government because all the problems are pushed either from the federal government to the state government to the county government. They have no place they can shove it over. So thank you for everything you're doing. We appreciate it. This is Team Maryland, and I want to underscore that because it is a little bit unusual today. You might notice that things are not always harmonious at the national level, what's going on in Congress, but the Maryland team works together. We work together. As a result, we get more done. So we work with our federal, state, and local partners, and our federal team shares all information so we can get the maximum amount of funds for the projects in Maryland. And our captain, when it comes to Charles County, the person who has been an incredible representative, I really do believe he's the most effective local congressman in the nation, and he's a national and international leader, and that's your Steny Hoyer. So I just really want to acknowledge that these projects start in the House. All projects start in the House, and there's no more effective voice for Charles County than Steny Hoyer. So I thank him, and we're going to talk about over $6 million. That's an applause line, people. Over $6 million in federal infrastructure designated funds, congressionally designated funds. Congressman Hoyer will tell you that's earmarks, so we recognize that. But he is responsible for making sure that we do what's right for Charles County. And he also makes sure the money gets into the checkbook because he's on the Appropriations Committee. But our leader in the United States Senate to make sure we get money in the checkbook is Chris Van Hollen, who's done an incredible job representing Charles County and our entire state. But I really do, look, I understand that this may be one of my last opportunities to talk about congressional earmarks since I'm not running for re-election. I can tell you it's been a unique pleasure to work with a fellow senator who shares all information so we can get maximum amount for the people of our state. And that's been Chris Van Hollen. My other partner was Barbara Mikulski. I've been really blessed in the United States Senate on the team I work with. But I'm particularly pleased to be here at this pump station. I serve on the Environment and Public Works Committee. I chaired the Infrastructure Subcommittee. I know how much we need to do to get our water infrastructure up to where it needs to be. There was a time we had the best water infrastructure in the world, but we haven't paid attention to it in recent years. And quite frankly, people don't see the pipes and the drains and the sewer systems, and it's sort of out of sight, out of mind. But we want to make sure that you have reliable water service here in Prince George's County, that your pump stations can meet Charles County. Thank you. Charles
Prince George County too.
And Prince George's for the close by. The whole state. But the pump station makes sure we get adequate water supply. We also have septic systems that are failing in communities, affecting businesses and residences. We got to deal with that. We also have flooding conditions because of overcapacity. And the earmarks we're announcing today deal with those types of issues to provide that basic needs so people, when they turn on their faucet, they get clean water. When they flush their toilets, they know it's being handled correctly. May not be glamorous, but if they don't get the service, I guarantee you'll hear from them. You'll hear from them pretty quickly. So we are proud to be able to make those type of announcements today. And by the way, we're going to add another $5 million to the Southern Maryland Rapid Transit System. Yeah. Gary Hodge was one of our leaders to make sure that we never forgot that issue. I can't tell you how many times he called my office. I was going to charge him rent. He was there so often. But we are continuing our commitment. Why? Because this region is terribly congested. We've got to figure out a better way. It's quality of life. It's economic growth. It's all of the above. And we are committed to being your partner, and I'm proud that we're able to deliver today, and I'm proud that I can work with this team that's behind me on behalf of the people of Charles County and the entire state. My partner in this, Chris Van Hollen. You couldn't have a stronger advocate for working with the community, listening to the community's priorities, making sure that we use our discretion where we can to help the community meet its needs. Senator Chris Van Hollen.
Thank you, Ben. Well, thank you, Ben. It's great to be here with Team Charles County. President Collins, thank you for your leadership, you and your fellow commissioners. It's great to see your leaders from the General Assembly. Delegate Edith Patterson, who was recognized by Senator Cardin, and Delegate Davis. We have these gatherings around the time of the General Assembly where you're kind enough to invite Senator Cardin, myself, Steny Hoyer, and others, and we have these Zoom meetings, at least post-COVID, but it's great to see you all in person. And to Senator Ellis, happy birthday. Always great to see you, and look forward to our continued working partnership together. I would just briefly like to say a word about my colleagues. And Senator Cardin has already mentioned what an incredible leader Steny Hoyer is in the United States Congress. And so I say amen and second all that. Steny, thank you for your great leadership. And today is just one of many, many examples of delivering for Charles County. But Ben Cardin, our friend Ben, of course, has decided not to run for re-election. But the fact that he's here and the fact that he's continuing to deliver for Charles County and other parts of Maryland shows that he is determined to run hard through the finish line, both for Maryland, both for our country, and indeed with respect to his international leadership. So I do want to take this moment to really thank the leader of Team Maryland, Ben Cardin, who is very modest. He is on the authorizing committee, the Environment and Public Works Committee, and has a direct role in setting policy for the country when it comes to infrastructure, both above ground and underground. So, as Senator Cardin said, this is a big day for the federal Charles County partnership. We're talking about $6.5 million of federal investment in a number of key areas. And I want to thank all the folks at DPW. Mr. Harris, thank you and your team. As Senator Cardin said, people often think of infrastructure as bridges, as roads, as the things they see every day. And they sometimes take for granted that everything underground is working, right? Clean water and the sewer system. It only works because of the people who are responsible for making it work, and we're really honored to help contribute to that very important effort. And it's not just of the homes. It's obviously essential everybody have clean and healthy water, but if we don't have a good water system and sewer system, we also have it overflowing into our creeks and local waterways. And that obviously creates a huge quality of life issue for those neighborhoods and people in those areas. So that's why this is so very, very important that we get it done. Another part of this overall amount of funding is for the Pope's Creek Trail. There's $200,000 in this, included in one of the checks that we're going to be providing. The one for $1.45 million, we'll have that included in it, or $1.65. But the idea here, of course, is to turn that abandoned railroad trail into a trail and make sure that everybody in Charles County can have access to the water. And of course, when you clean up the creeks and the streams, you're also talking about making sure that we have a cleaner Chesapeake Bay. So that Pope's Creek Trail, it's a really important local amenity and effort. So I want to thank all of you who've been part of that. And then finally, of course, the $5 million for the Southern Maryland Rapid Transit. I know a lot of people have worked on this, but I remember when Senator Ellis reached out years and years ago and put the bill in the Maryland General Assembly. I see Vic Weisberg representing Prince George's County. This is such an important connection between Southern Maryland, Charles County, Prince George's County, and Washington, D.C. All of you know better than anybody that congestion on our roads is already unacceptable. And if you look at projected growth in this area, it's going to be a very large number of people moving to this area. So having good quality mass transit is going to be very, very important. I should say that I think we had $5 million we were secured at the federal level a few years ago. This is another $5 million. That was 10. Thank you for always, you're right, 10. And I do want to report that just yesterday in the Senate Appropriations Committee, the request that Senator Cardin and I made for another $5 million, and Stenny's working on that in the House. This is for fiscal year 25, so with the asterisk that it's not over till it's over, we did get it in the appropriations bill that passed the Appropriations Committee just yesterday. Now we got to get it through the House, and we're going to make sure that Stenny, this is on its way, we hope, and this is a good sign. But this project obviously is so important to Charles County and to this region. Thank all of you who are really pushing hard, and we're proud to play an important part at the federal level. So with that, let me turn it over to our point person in the House of Representatives, somebody who you know very well from his distinguished service, not just for Charles County and for Maryland, but for the country, Steny Hoyer.
Well, thank you very much, Chris, and I'm not going to regurgitate all of the statistics and the projects and the money that we have been able to secure. This is the home team. We put some money in, the senators put some money in, the delegates put some money in, the county commissioners put some money in, but it's a team effort, and it's the total effort that really makes the difference. And this is not very sexy in some ways. As Ben started, people don't see it. They don't see it until something goes wrong. Something backs up. something doesn't drain. That's when they see it. And that's when we have not done our job. And obviously, because systems grow old, systems leak, systems have problems, it is necessary to continue to maintain them and to accommodate new growth so that we can accommodate the water and sewer that new growth produces. So I want to say, team, we've done a good job. And we are lucky as a team, those of us who live in the place called Southern Maryland, or the 5th Congressional District. We are lucky to have 2 United States senators who are as focused on us as if they lived in our counties. I say that truthfully. Whether it was working at Pax River or Indian Head or the highways, 301, the bridge down in St. Mary's or in Calvert County, they have been focused as much as I've been focused. And every time I called either Ben or Chris and said, here's an opportunity for us. Here's a need that we have. Here's something that we ought to be doing in Southern Maryland. They were there. No questions, well, when, I got to do this, got to do it. Yes was the answer. Yes was the answer. And I think those of us who are in public office who have had that opportunity, whether in the delegates, our state senator, who has gotten older but still is really on top of the job, and Ben and Chris have been there with us as Team Southern Maryland, as well as Team Maryland. So I'm honored to be with them. Now, having said that, there are going to be some, we have really, so I guess we have, I see some checks over there that are not checks, so don't try to cash them, but you're going to get the money. But we try to bring some of the money that Charles Countyans pay to the federal government back to invest in Charles County and the welfare of those taxpayers. This is not as if they're getting some largesse from the federal. They send some money there. We have made a judgment that these projects are critically important for the welfare of our citizens, and therefore have gotten some of the money that they send to Washington back here to serve them directly. Now, Ben says, I will tell you about earmarks. They're called earmarks, and they're politically sometimes controversial. Now, there were some bad earmarks. People did earmarks, some went to jail. Back in '07, David Obey, who was then Democratic chairman of the Appropriations Committee, made some very significant reforms. We adopted them in the House. They adopted them in the Senate. And now it's a very tightly controlled system so that we make sure it is the public, not the private sector, indirectly the private sector. Let me tell you, the private sector needs this facility as much as the public sector does, and the citizens do. So that, again, working together to make our communities more successful, more healthy, and more environmentally friendly. And I am so thankful that I have had partners like Ben Cardin and Chris Van Hollen and all of you to get this job done for the people. Thank you.
I think we should give an additional round of applause for these outstanding public servants. Senators Van Hollen and Cardin, as well as Congressman Hoyer, have been steadfast in their support for congressionally designated spending appropriations. That's why we're here today. And I just wanted to take a moment, because too often we hear this old adage about no news is good news. But let me tell you something. News is good when it has an impact on the people. And that's what we're seeing today. Now, I have, notes that, may take me a minute to get through. But please, indulge me for a moment, because I think what it will provide you with is a testament to the outstanding work of our congressional delegation, and the county's usage of these important funds. These are not just financial contributions, they are affirmations of a commitment to the well-being and prosperity of our community. At the top of the list, we're talking about water. And I can tell you, and my colleague, Commissioner Patterson is here. He wasn't introduced earlier, but he can tell you, on a day-to-day basis, our citizens are talking about water capacity. And these appropriations are an attempt to address that. Water is the lifeblood of any community. As our population grows, so does our need for sustainable water resources. With the generous support of our delegation, we can continue to upgrade and expand our water systems to ensure a reliable and safe water supply for all of our residents. With your generous support, we're able to undertake the Waldorf Interconnection Project, which includes the design and construction of an interconnection pipeline from the Washington Suburban Sanitary Commission in Prince George's County to our water system here in Waldorf. This investment ensures that every family continues to have access to clean, safe, and reliable sources of water. Proper sewer systems are essential for maintaining public health and environmental sustainability. The earmarked funds will allow us to prepare for future demands in Hughesville by providing public sewer for the Hughesville Village Priority Funded Area, including the Village Core, facilitating development in line with the Hughesville Revitalization Plan. We will continue to work on design and construction for repairs to the lower Mattawoman Interceptor, which will prevent large amounts of groundwater and rainwater from flowing into the sewer system during heavy rain events. Similarly, the Bryans Road Interceptor project will receive funding. It focuses on repairing the Bryans Road Interceptor, which also suffers from groundwater and rainwater infiltration. This phase includes work in environmentally sensitive areas. By enhancing our sewage systems, we reduce the risk of contamination and protect our waterways, which are vital to our ecosystem and recreational activities. We heard it before, you're going to hear it again. Transportation is the backbone of economic growth and quality of life here in Charles County. The Southern Maryland Rapid Transit Project is Charles County's highest transportation priority and the most critical component of our future mobility in the Branch Avenue corridor. I want to thank our partners from Prince George's County once again, and the support of the entire Southern Maryland delegation for their joint advocacy in continuing to move this very important project forward. While we're only at the beginning, we would not be here today if it weren't for the unrelenting efforts of all of our supporters, as well as the professionalism and leadership of our Charles County government team, whose dedication, expertise, and skills have successfully carried out the day to make sure we spend these funds wisely and implement these projects on time and within budget. So I'll close by saying, on behalf of the entire board, we recognize how important these earmarks are. They provide much more than just financial support. They're a vote of confidence to our county's future. They enable us to build a resilient and sustainable community where every single Charles County citizen can thrive. On behalf of the Charles County government team and our residents, I extend my heartfelt thank you to our federal partners. We truly appreciate it, and I want to close by saying, for all of your staffs, whenever the county has reached out, just in terms of information, all of the staffs have been totally responsive to working directly with Charles County government, and we just want to say thank you. And we want to humbly let you know how much we appreciate the continued support of our federal delegation. And again, thank you. And I guess, Martin, are you going to kind of close us out? Great. Thank you.
So thank you all for joining us today. Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you to our incredible federal team. And good to see you, Vice President Patterson. Thank you for being here as well. So I will leave it up to the staff, but senators and congressmen, we'd like to take maybe a minute. I think we have a check over here we want to take pictures with. Yes. We want to do that first and foremost. And then maybe if you have a minute, we can show you where we're at. Right. So thank you. Oh, one thing, I do want to recognize my colleague Jason Groth, who chairs Planning and Growth, who's the Director of Planning and Growth Management. The other one's going to have to help us steer these projects. So thanks, Jason.
Yeah. Thanks.